And we're live. Hello everyone, welcome to another Friday stream with Strange Loop Games. I'm Jens, and we have Toby here with us that we've seen a couple of streams now. Hopefully we'll see him more on camera here.
Hi, how's it going everyone? It's very early for me, so I'm still drinking my coffee.
Yeah, Toby's down under, far away on an opposite time zone, so he is very early in the morning on Saturday. So very happy to have you here, and very thankful to have you be able to participate in these Saturday morning streams.
It should be fun.
Yeah. So to start off, there is a slight delay in what we were hoping to have our settlement stream today, as I know a lot of people have been looking forward to, but unfortunately that got pushed and postponed to next week. I believe Dennis can probably accurately correct me if I'm wrong. And today we'll simply go over some of the post 10 ideas, plans, designs, and things that we are cooking, things that we have not really shown off yet. Yeah, the reason for the delay being GDC being this week, so that occupied John, which is a main component to be able to show off settlements. And yeah, that's it for settlements. I think we'll just hide and pretend that we can see it next week. So for what do we have planned for today? Well, we've got a couple of objects that we haven't really shown off yet that we've added recently, and that kind of fits in with the settlement theme. And we wanted some new signs, some bigger billboards, and things to kind of help people write the text, and also kind of just help give a bit more aesthetics and just like general extra things in the world that makes it look more like an actual world, and you can have more just more uniqueness to your settlements. I think we can just dig straight through it. I do have a couple of issues with Unity right now, that it's misbehaving a little bit, so the frame rate is tanking from somewhere. I haven't really been able to nail it down, so I do apologize for the slightly lower frame rate than usual.
It's still probably going to be better than Australian internet streaming, so better frame rate.
Yeah, so we can transition over here, and we have adjust that a little bit. There we go. Now we have Unity, and Unity's playing a bit foul, as said. So the banners and billboards and borders, or kind of border declarations, I guess, or however you want to see it, like big signs that you come up along highways and roads and things like that, is something that we haven't really had in Eco. We have a bunch of signs, which is quite a large volume and a lot of different alternatives and visual styles that I'm really happy that we have, so everyone can kind of make their own things, and we have the ability to add icons and different kind of colorization on the text, and a lot of customizations for it. But we haven't really had these really big announcement signs, or like really huge signs, which we're kind of remedying today. And apparently chat doesn't really want to hide. Let's we can get rid of that. We have three variations of them, and we have two types, but three variation formats. We have the huge, I think it's called huge wooden sign. I'm absolutely fantastic when it comes to remembering the names of the items I've added to the tech tree myself, so give sign. Let's just do this and get the whole. So this is the amount of signs we have in the game.
That's a lot of signs.
That is a lot of signs. And apparently I skilled up as well. Huge. That's the one. That's the ones we're looking for. Huge banner sign. And then we have huge iron.
That's right.
And we have a steel one. So let's start with apparently
Not steel iron.
steel iron is not a thing apparently, and I apologize for the. Can we disappear? There we go. So we have the ground version of them, and we have these are some of the new ones. This is the canvas wooden one, which is crafted through the hewn logs and fabric, and some of the new linen yarn that you acquire from plants. So this is an amazingly sized sign. Look at that. Amazing.
It's pretty big.
It is pretty big. This thing is... the other one. These signs are 8 tiles wide, so they can cover most roads that you're trying to place them on. That one? Yeah, it's that one as well. And then we got the steel one. And these have equivalents in tiers as well. So you have the wooden one, which is this nice canvas looking one. And then we have the iron one, which is kind of flat steel looking iron sign that you can
change your time of day, gents.
Oh yeah. Well, I do want to, but just give me just a second here.
Okay.
We have one more, which is the steel modern one, which is looking like this. And this thing, where I kind of wanted to keep it nighttime, actually has lights and
I see.
is lighting up. So these are the ones that you can kind of place on the wall or on the ground and can have along buildings or whatnot. And then we also have equivalent ones that are standing on pillars or legs, portals, frames, whichever you kind of use phrase-wise to do, and I believe that one was the iron one. So it is the same kind of format for it, but it's in a elevated state, so you can have this over highways or entrances into towns, or you want to have it on your parking lot and advertise sale of goods or whatever you feel like. And we have, of course, we have the equivalent one for that one as well, and I wanna have the what was that one called? It's called wood one. Help me here. Can you find it for me?
I'll find it.
So signs are the advertisement bread and butter, where people can just like write up whatever they want, whatever they feel like, and something that not all too many people were seemingly aware of. I've been talking about it on Discord a little bit, where you have the colorization for fonts. Not sure how well the actual TMP font change works, so I'll probably avoid that. But there we go. When you're adding text here, so we got text template here, and then that pops up as normal. We're still adding things, so you can be able to do this on both sides. Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. So how do you do it if you wanted to add colorization to it? Well, you run it as an HTML code, which is basically just telling it to use color, and then telling it either in hex code or just what color you want to use. And then that will colorize anything that is beyond that point. So now we have red text on this. And this is looking amazing. Kind of hard to see in the dark, due to the nature of the dark red color. Time noon. And as I said, this works with hex code as well, so this would just be like that, I think. Isn't that how hex code works? Yeah. There we go. So this also allows you to kind of add signs and add different types of icons. You can see if I can remember how the phrasing for this is. So we got icon, or is it eco icon? Eco icon, and then name mechanics. and I believe that's the case. As for a question, the lights on the signs, I believe that's not necessary at the moment. Yeah, look at that. I even remember how to use icons properly immediately.
Nice. It'd be nice to have some sort of editor for that one day, like instead of having to remember the code. But
yeah, like insert icon, and then you just drag the icon in here or something. That's definitely something that we can look at from kind of usability, because this is a lot to remember or constantly have to check up if you're not all too familiar with HTML, which I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, we're not expecting everyone to do, which is partially why the Wikipedia page popped up, and we might actually do an entry on that in our own Ecopedia here, like dealing with like signs or something in here where you could have these kind of formats and different examples on how you can use this. But this will take like underline, bold. It did take size to a certain degree. So this will take any string or any reference to any type of item or object. So if we do like bread, it'll grab the tag for the bread. Or if you wanted the actual specific bread, you would need to do bread item. And it kind of pops up and just, you know,
beautiful.
You can do an amazing, awesome, cheap bread at highest quality. How can someone resist that bread? It's amazing.
Yeah.
So this all. Let me just grab that one because I forgot to post that one. Slash give huge wooden banner. We have this one as well for the wooden one. So that one has a little bit of detail with wood and rope and other things. Currently I don't have the new avatar enabled on develop, so that's why you have this Martian looking guy. Yeah.
The Hulk.
Yeah, the Hulk. Yeah, we've got those that'll probably help give that entry and maybe advertise, say, hey, you know, looking for new settlers, please come over here. Or if you really need that iron bar, you can write it out on a bigger sign now, so anyone can pass and know that you need iron bars. We also have a bunch of new buntings, stripes, and smaller banners and smaller kind of flair to celebrations. Something. These currently don't have icons yet, but
they do. They're being plugged in at the moment.
Yeah, I should correct that.
They're underway.
They do have icons. They're just not completely.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of them, and they look a little bit like curtain-ish. We'll need to kind of reuse that. There we go. As you can see, we're still, you know, should be obviously stated that this is a develop build. We are working on things heavily, so things are a little bit less working than optimal, and you know, not representing the actual complete state of it. As we've done some pretty significant system upgrades, which has been critical in terms of continued development. In terms of the interactions, it's allowed us to do things like optimizations with the entity changes and how you're interacting with crops and plants and world objects. Do you want to build? As I'm flying around here, or you're in here somewhere having, you're up to something around here. I have a feeling.
Oh, I'm not, but I should be.
You should be. I think you can pop out the rest of the buntings and kind of drop that out. Or we also have. Did those get plugged in yet? I think they got. We do give dev tool, and we can take a look at the hewn blocks. hewn log. That's what it's called. And we have, I believe, some of these starting to get their accurate textures, which are more, you should be getting, there we go. Do we have, these are now getting a bit more to their polished, finalized texture shapes in terms of hewn blocks. And I believe we have them plugged in for the softwood hewn blocks. Which, Toby, I believe that being the case. Or...
Yeah, what is this? I was not looking at your screen. Sorry. Duck blocks, yes.
Yeah, I believe the softwood and the hardwood should be done now.
Yeah, there's one little bug with the softwood and hardwood, but they should be all done.
So, and on that subject of interaction, well, we weren't really, or I wasn't really gonna go into it too much, but I do kind of want to give people a bit of insight into this, and something that we would really appreciate some feedback on once we go into, and not just feedback, but general people's opinions and experiences when they do test out the playtest build. Is we've reworked the algorithm for how blocks are being detected when you're trying to build and place them. So this is something that's still highly experimental, and where it previously it got kind of unpredictable, where if you wanted to build something, stop flying just to give that proper way. So when you were trying to build something forward, you had to be in point view or point placement, and then it was kind of unpredictable to in which direction you were placing your blocks. It's still a little bit some overlap and some fine-tuning on it, but essentially now the block is properly allocated into different grids, and depending on where you're pointing, or where your interaction cursor is kind of heading towards, is where you're placing different blocks. So this allows you to do something like placing diagonally, which you haven't been able to do before. And I'm hoping that this is something that will help or increase the quality of life a little bit for people, especially that enjoys building, and this makes it a lot easier to kind of adjust and place in a precision manner, and less.
Yeah, it's still got some like issues and weird edge cases, but this is like this would be my favorite feature that goes into 10 almost. If we get this all working and polished up, there's been so many times like it's difficult to place things like ramps and basically any of those sort of pieces. This is way more predictive, so I hope we can get it all polished up in time for 10.
Yeah, and I think it's an unsuspected little nice feature that people are gonna enjoy. As I said, it is more predictive, and it's also easier for us to do changes to and make sure that we eliminate more of these edge cases where they do have kind of like a weird overlap when you go from a left block to right block, and then the first initial pass still kind of puts you on the left side, which isn't really intended. So there's still a couple of things that are leaving out, but pretty confident that we'll be able to get most of these polished up and ironed out during the playtest, as people will have different opinions, and hopefully provide those opinions to us, so we can work on it and kind of improve everyone's situation. Now, we have some cool things that we're planning on and working around for post 10. So this is, a big disclaimer of this is things that you'll likely not see in 10, but more towards a follow-up sequential update for like 10.1, 10.2, or depending a little bit on parts around it. Either it be certain food items that needs to be generated, or just general technical things that might come up. And one of them is the cannery. Is that? I think it should be in. Or is that not? Did I not add that to the tech tree prior? Do I need to do a prefab thing for it? Yeah, I do. Well, while
You could drag it in.
yeah, I can drag it in, but I need to go out of full screen. Let's fetch it. Or if it's in here, wasn't it called cannery, or is it called something completely different? We can grab the smoker, because that is also part of that kind of improvement into cooking, and it'll be a bit of a continued subject here on the stream as well. Food is a super important part of eco, and the production of it, the collection of, and the supply chain along the way, and as well as crafting stations and interactions for them. So a few things that we felt were missing out is, one, kind of a way to further improve storage, as well as kind of treatment and longevity of produce, which humanity has solved by introducing a cool feature for canning goods, which everyone is probably familiar with. And smoking is the other part of it, where you salt or smoke to kind of drain moisture out of meat, in particular, to make it last longer. And see if it wants to play nice here. Does it want to play nice? Grab it into the scene view.
I got your canner as well.
Oh yeah,
It's a canning assembly. That's what it's called.
that's what it's called. So
Yeah.
since I didn't have this added to the tech tree, we can't see the fancy animations for it right now. But that's my bad. It does have a little smokiness here to it. So this will be one of the sort of future upcoming things that we want to add into and get some new foods, some new recipes, some cool ways to kind of make food that might last longer than your average cooked meal. Has tons of potential. And I'll go into full screen here in a second. And then we've got this bad boy as well. Let's just grab this one. And this is in the ground. Yeah.
I can actually place one down.
Oh, it was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You
It's just called canning assembly.
found,
It's got all the animations running as well. Some really nice animations floated on this.
Yeah.
Cool,
this-
cool machine.
yeah. So this is our second kind of machine that will allow you to do this. So we have a couple of ideas here where there is a generic type input for, say, canned vegetables or canned fruit, and then you would have the tagged usage for it, which means you could have a multiple variations. Now this animation is and canner is kind of specific to fish, but this will probably be something that we cannot tweak with the animations and having different kind of produce. So this will produce tinned cans of goods, and I'm gonna chuck in here, and right now it doesn't have any recipes or anything set up, so it's pretty blank, pretty sad. But once it gets in and once it gets going, I think everyone's gonna appreciate some new ways to kind of sustain food and storage in a more interactive way, and offer alternatives in terms of stores being able to sell different types of produce, where fresh food versus canned food is going to be kind of susceptible to different potential changes. And then we have we've got one more that's kind of, or two more objects that some servers have seen usage for, that they might have toggled them on. One of them is a follow-up on the camera discussion and camera debate. Now we were having this old-timey camera that would be representative to the kind of mid stages of the game, and you have this handheld, semi-digital camera that leads into kind of modern age. It allows zoom, it allowed some different kind of filtrations and options, flash and fancy things that you can toggle and kind of play around with. But we were discussing the possibility of adding some way to kind of track history and take pictures early game from crude stage Stone Age into early Iron Age, where you don't have access to the mechanical devices or you don't have access to high technology, and camera's not really something that you kind of cook up with 2 sticks and stone and just slap together. So we were discussing how we wanted to introduce something that would allow you to take images without that fancy technology. And one of the things that kind of cropped up was the whole idea with paintings, or painting paintings. And the immediate concern when it comes to on my end from a design perspective is I also need to take into consideration general player security, but also the whole kind of controversy with profanity and the internet as a whole, where we've seen some crazy things in other games that allow you to do free painting, like Ark and Rust and those types of games where you have you basically get fed a canvas and you can just draw on it like MS Paint. Yet we still wanted to capture scenery and capture objects and be able to do that early on. So what we were cooking up was having something like this as the camera tool object. So you would interact with an easel and you would get you would have this kind of stationary position where you take a framed image similar to how you interact with the camera, but instead of giving you an actual photograph, you would get a stylized rendition of the world. So instead of being this perfect picture frame, you would have something that looks like the picture but ran through a conversion to kind of look like a realistic painting, or it would turn into an oil painting.
Yeah, we could maybe have different filters for different paint styles. And I also really like Gio's idea of instead of the camera UI, you're kind of like putting your fingers up like this to do the frame, or using your thumb or something like that.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
So that's kind of where our thoughts are on the camera, and I think it could potentially have a lot of extra things. And there was kind of this novelty idea of, you could take a bunch of images on your town or on your Buddle settlement, and you would have these made with the easel, and you can kind of see the transition when you're taking images between the old-timey camera and then the modern one, and you kind of see this rural landscape on the initial photos, and then it kind of, as time and technology progresses, you get these budding industries and advanced complexes kind of sprung up around it. That doesn't limit you in being able to use the easel throughout the entire thing and take these amazing oil painting like things of your modern buildings, which could look really cool. We have one more object that is model and asset wise is done. You've seen the printing press for people that missed the user. For people that missed the user texture stream or haven't seen it, this has been kind of hidden in the files for a while, but this is your implementation and usage for the new user texture and photography kind of copy system, where UI is still not updated on my branch here, but essentially you would grab a texture on your PC and you can print it out, and that turns into an object. So that's something that we wanted to expand on. Now we have this amazing assets, and you know, kind of boiling into the whole improving and adding things to paper milling as a profession. And we have this bad boy here. I believe it's called Paper Machine. Name pending. So this is your later stages paper production. And something that I have personally been wanting to kind of put a little bit of attention to for a while, with paper milling being kind of a tricky profession, because to not make it kind of a one-trick wonder profession, we have been looking at ways to kind of introduce paper as a resource, but also different types and interactions that you can do with paper. And one thing that immediately kind of sprung into our minds, I think, in one way or another, is the idea of newspapers, mail, and other kind of associated areas where you would use paper. There's also been speculation about adding paper as kind of a resource for civics, but that one is still being kind of discussed internally, so don't really have a lot to kind of go in on depth on that one. But newspapers, I started to draft a design for, and I think I'm quite happy with it. Where the general idea is to allow users to use the printing press, create a kind of a template for a visualization or a stylization of how you want things to be posted in, like where you have paper or text formats, and then you have images, and then you can kind of stylize things. And I'm not sure how much I can get chewed out from Dennis if I go in and show some of that off. Got that one. Just kind of sneak preview here. I do have a couple of drafts for here we go. So this would be something that as a very whip way of showing off and kind of mock-up UI, where kind of fiddling around with the elements and where we want to do it before we actually make an in-game rendition of a UI example. So we have these kind of 3-4 iterations of how a UI kind of gets cooked up and combined with the features we want to be doing. So in this case, you would select or drag kind of things around or place them however you want these to be depicted. And once you have these kind of printed out, you would create a template. The template is what you would use to feed into the printing press, and that would generate newspapers. And these newspapers could then be used to distribute through newsstands and be broadcasted as notifications to players. And there was...
we just need to add bicycles so we can do paper routes.
Yeah, I think that could be quite fun. But no, so there was two kind of underlying thoughts here, or three in general. One of them being, we want paper milling to kind of be more ingrained into the industrial sprawl and civilization, but also generate garbage. But at the same time, we also want, we have been wanting for quite a significant time, allow players to be more communicative while offline, both from an administrative point on the server, but also between users. And one of the ideas there was that you would have this newspaper, and you would deliver it to a settlement or a town, and this would then be broadcasted through another notification similar to this one, and then show up here, and you can click read the newspaper that is in, you know, the newspapers that are in that region. And just giving a bit more to do in general, just outside of mine iron ore, progress, build more machines, progress, and kind of add more into the sort of cultural depth and change it or interchange words.
I think as well, like we talked about it a little bit with the photography stream, but like you could kind of have these journalists popping up that are going out and getting stories and taking photos and writing things up. And you have like a huge like newspaper that's buying these stories from all different people. You kind of like, if you get a really cool picture of something, you can sell it to the paper. So there's some interesting gameplay opportunities there as well.
Yeah, and also you would have journalists being able to sell papers or you know, make these publications, or have the players post ads in them, or like, discounted food at my store only for today, and then that article is up for 24 hours, and then once it decays, you know, you don't have to worry about changing out that article because the newspaper's kind of gone through the process and gotten dismantled because it ran out, or its time ran out. So there's a lot of possibilities here that we're wanting to explore and look into. And we have, I think, one more thing that is kind of a huge thing. I've teased about it a little bit in and about. Let me just find that thing. We got this one, and then you probably saw that title up there. So something that is quite far out, but kind of starting to get its underlying design ready to go. Now anything in here is really preliminary, and should be taken with a truckload of salt, possibly. But one profession tree as well that's been kind of hanging out and been very bland is the whole hunting section and the butchery, where we feel that it's a vital, essential part of the food industry, as well as producing a lot of waste due to biomaterials and processing methods, but also quite heavily involved into farming, and why crop growth and fertilizing and all of those kind of intertwining parts deserves quite a significant amount of attention, and something that we want to expand on. So I'm really looking forward to keep working on this and keep kind of iterating on it until I'm happy with it and we can start working on it and implementing it in game. And I'm hoping that a lot of players are as stoked as I am for it. This whole hunting butchery thing is also leading into something that has been promised for a long time and still not ready for quite a bit yet, but looking forward to kind of dig into it, and that is animal husbandry as a whole. So hunter will be renamed into animal husbandry, and that will kind of umbrella all the different parts of it. So all of these names kind of patent pending. Where the butchery part kind of takes care of all the different parts of the animals. And open that up a little bit. Pork.
Do I see pork on there?
I don't know what you're talking about. No. Oh, sorry. No pork there.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Now there's a couple of animals that we're looking into adding, expanding the ecosystem. We've done some changes to plants and its spread rate. But butchery as a whole, I think everyone is it works as is right now, but we feel that it is a part where it can be so much more, and it deserves to be so much more, because it is an essential transition in between when you went from wild animals to wild animals being kind of either gets hunted down to low population levels, or simply because you need a more reliable, stable production. And that is where domestication kind of comes in, where humanity decided that, you know, we don't want to run around in the forest to hunt things. We want it to be reliably available throughout the year, or for things like milk and wool production or eggs, where it was a necessary survival path for a lot of regions. And this is kind of growing. This is probably going to be twice in scale in terms of this, the flow chart, where you're going to go into each of these steps. What do you want? Starting from the top here, you would go into the different animal types. What are they producing? Do they have waste, and how do you manage the waste? The different types of products, how does those products link into butchery? Maintaining these animals, are they wild, free roaming? Are you catching them? Are you taming them? Are you using bait, rope? There's a lot of fine parts here that will go through on a dedicated stream in the future once we really breaking this up a little bit more, but hopefully serves as enough of a distraction from missing the settlement today.
Yeah,
giving people a little bit to kind of think about what we have in store in future for eco as we'll keep developing it. You know, just because we're done with 10.0 and we got boats in and we got settlements in, we're not done, not by a long shot. Looking forward to adding all these new cool improvements and just extra things to the game that makes it more interactive. And
yeah, it's going to be good to spend a bit of time looking at the animals, because like obviously they've got a few issues at the moment that need polishing up, so to be able to dedicate that time, get the ones that are in polished up, but then also adding new ones. We've got a couple in the works as well that are pretty much done, but we're just holding off to putting them in until we kind of get that chance to polish it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, this will be a fun one to work on.
Yeah, see, Toby's
a lot of interesting stuff.
Toby's really looking forward to it. He's been wanting to really dig into animals and everything animal for a time here.
Yeah. And so is our animator, Shadlo. He's like, he's excited, but there's a lot of work to do for animating those animals. But he definitely wants them fixed. So
yeah. So on post settlements, you'll likely see some animal fixes and some ecosystem focus, and that kind of boils into polish of the crafting UI, some changes, garbage, pollution, because pollution is kind of the trifecta of tying these things together. Where you're crafting things, it creates waste produces pollution, pollution is treated somehow to be able to sustain that production. You're gonna need food kind of boils into either gathering, farming, expanding crops, dealing with animals, and animal husbandry kind of gives you that power of not having to constantly run out and hunt things, but to be able to just make bigger farm fields to feed these animals, to then allow you to kind of have localized production for things like meat, fur, wool, that has so far in eco always been kind of dependent on someone running around and hunting these. So that'll be a very exciting new branch to kind of dig into.
and eggs.
And eggs. We've got turkeys here. We might have some other animals as well. I'm hoping this kind of gives everyone a bit of a vision into the future where we're looking for in terms of mechanics improvements and other cool things.
Yeah. There's a couple of comments there on that. There's like Armored Stone saying, so long as hunters don't become obsolete.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've got like hunting, so food in general will with butchery, as people probably saw here, we have intention to kind of break up the different meat varieties. So you'll have a separation for bisons and beef based animals versus birds and like turkeys and whatnot, which would be poultry. And then you had different types of wild meats, which would be venison and I think alligators would probably be something that or might not allow ranchers. Although we do have some gator farms. But I think that's gonna come down to a game balance decision more than a general design or an ability to do so. Just to keep that relevance of hunting being a thing. And the hunter kind of expanding into be able to place traps similar to the fish traps, to be able to hunt kind of part passively over time as well, like the fish traps, but in a more predictive manner.
Yep.
So there's some things coming there as well, but this whole tripod between the butchery, rancher, and hunting will probably be bundled into one like huge animal husbandry update eventually. So I'm hoping people look forward to that. It's gonna be fun working on it, and it's gonna be amazing to see what crazy things people come up with once it's out. Yeah, I think we'll probably wrap it up there unless you have something, Toby.
Nah, I think it's all good. I've just been watching your screen for a bit, so
Yeah, coming up to an hour here, and I think it's probably a good time to cut it out. And hopefully we'll have the settlement stream next week. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank everyone for watching, and hope to see everyone next Friday. And yeah,
goodbye.
goodbye.